Welcome to the tutorial of Indian music. I'm Lipika, a devotee of Indian vocal instrument and dance. Today we'll be knowing about tabla. You have learned so many tals and I played tabla in describing those tals or those rhythms, but I never described the different parts of tabla. What is tabla? Today we'll be learning about the tabla, which is very important in your syllabus to know details of the instrument tabla. Among the Indian ear-based percussions, tabla is the main and most popular. Tabla has two parts. What is played with the right hand is known as tabla, and what is played with the left hand is known as dugi or baya. Now I removed the cloth. So tabla has two parts. Right side is known as tabla, which we play with our right hand, and the left side instrument is known as dugi or baya, what we play with our left hand. So dugi and tabla together is called the instrument tabla. First, I will describe the tabla, which we play with our right hand. The main portion of tabla is known as cut or lakdi, which is made of mango, jackfruit, neem, shal or sandalwood. The inside is hollow. The inside of tabla is hollow, round in shape and about 1 feet in height. The height is around 1 feet. The upper part of tabla is 5 or 6 inches wide, and the leather covering the top of the tabla is known as chhauni. This is known as chhauni. This leather cover is known as chhauni. And gab, maidan, kani or chati, these are gathered on the chhauni or puri. Another name of chhauni is puri. The 16 perforated leather garland, which is braided around the chhauni, is known as Baghdi or gajra. This is known as Baghdi or gajra, and 16 perforations are there. See, we can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 and 16. A round leather band around 1 inch wide around the puri is known as kinar or kani or chati. This portion is known as chati or kani or kinar. And in the middle, this black portion is known as gab. The black portion just middle of the chhauni. On the middle of the chhauni, this black portion is known as gab. Gab. Another name of gab is shahi, and the portion between the gab and the chati, this portion is known as maidan. So on the chhauni we have 3 portions. We have 3 parts gathered on the chhauni: kani or chati, maidan and gab or sahi. Clear? In the bottom of the tabla, there is a small round portion, looks like a garland of leather, is known as beshtani or guri. The thin strips of leather between the gajra and guri. The thin strips of leather between the gajra and guri are known as chots. The scale is tied to the tabla tightening these chords. So the thin strips of leather between the gajra and guri are known as chot, and the scale is tied to the tabla, tightening those chots. The small pieces of woods around 2 or 2.5 inches length attached inside the chots are known as guli or gatta. These are known as guli or gatta. Let's describe the baya now. The main part of baya is known as hari or kuri. Generally, this hari or kuri is made of either soil or metal like brass, steel or copper. This baya is made of soil. Inside of kuri is hollow, around 10 inches in height and round in shape. The upper part of baya is around 10 to 12 inches wide, and the leather covering the top of the baya is known as chhauni, same as tabla. We learnt chhauni in tabla. The upper part, the leather covering part is known as chhauni in tabla. Same thing in baya. This is known as chhauni. Kani, gab, maidan are gathered on the chhauni as tabla. I described what is kani, which portion? This portion is known as kani or kinar. Chati. Kani, maidan, between gab and kani, this portion is known as maidan. You learnt kani, maidan, gab are gathered on the chhauni as tabla. Only difference is, in the tabla, the gab was in the middle. Do you remember? The gab was placed in the middle. But in the baya, the gab is placed in a side, not in the middle. So this is the difference between tabla and baya. The location of the gab is different. In tabla, it is in the middle. In baya, it's just in a side. The leather garland braided around the chhauni of baya is known as gajra or pagdi, same as tabla. In the bottom of the baya, the small round part looks like a leather garland of leather is known as beshtani or guri, same as tabla. Like the tabla, baya is also having the chots. The thin leather strips are known as chot. So like the tabla, baya is also having the chot, but guli or gatta are not there. Guli or gattas are not there in the baya. So what is the difference between tabla and baya? The location of gab, the placement of gab. Here gab is in a side, in tabla gab is in the middle. In the baya there is no guli or gatta, in tabla there are gulis. One more difference is there. The kani or chati of baya, this kinar, this portion of the baya is more wider than tabla. Is more wider than tabla. To raise or lower the tune, we use hammer, or we can move guli or gatta a bit upper and lower to raise or to lower the tune. If the forefinger, middle finger, ring finger and little finger are placed on the tabla straight, and if the melody does not shake, then it must be understood that the tabla is just right to the tune. Okay? Tabla is usually played in either Madhya or Tar Saptak. Sometimes tunes are matched with Madhyam or Pancham of Madhya Saptak. You need to have well-tuned sense to match your tabla tune. Okay, enough for today. So see you in the following episode then. Goodbye.